I mean, it could have been a lot worse, but it could have been so much better. Hi, I'm Liz from Liz Gets Loaded, the money kind of loaded. But this is the podcast where I sit in my closet, drink wine, and talk about money and anxiety. I have both. Hello. I am here today to talk about going on vacation and spending a bunch of money and having absolutely zero fun. Okay. I want to tell you about a trip that I just went on and how much money I spent and how I ended up having not zero fun. Zero fun is an exaggeration, but something close to zero, like much closer to zero than I was expecting. So I want to talk about how I used to spend money on travel before the pandemic. And then, of course, a lot of things have changed since then. So I'll catch you up to where I am now. Pre-pandemic, I was budgeting somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 a year for travel. Now that was for two people and it included a couple things. Usually one big international trip. It also included, though, travel to go visit family or go to weddings, baby showers, those kinds of things. I am a big fan of the domestic weekend trip. So quick 3-day weekend out of town or getting out into nature, something like that. And then once a year, we would go to Mexico, lay on the beach, drink margaritas. Honestly, that was like usually my favorite trip of the year. So pre-pandemic, this was usually somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2,000. And that would be for 4 or 5 days. And that would include everything. So flights, staying in a nice resort, going out to some nice dinners, going out to some not so nice dinners. That includes everything. To a new swimsuit, sunscreen, cocktails on the plane, like all in, we were in for about $2,000 for two people, again, 4 or 5 days. Now, a lot of people kept traveling over the past 2 years and like, no judgment, everyone did what they needed to do. My level of anxiety didn't make traveling feel like something that was going to be fun for me. So we stayed home for 2 years and didn't really go anywhere. And our first vacation after more than 2 years was to go back to Mexico. A friend of ours was getting married, and so we decided to go for the wedding, which was going to be a long weekend, and then tack on an extra week. So this is a longer stay than we would normally do. It's going to be 10 days, and we ended up spending a total of about $5,000. I'm going to post a whole breakdown of what we spent on Instagram, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $5,000. And that was for everything. Again, flights, hotel, food, new swimsuit, drinks at the airport, everything all together. So the flights alone were $1,600. Everything is so expensive right now. I decided, just as a quick aside, I decided not to use any kind of travel miles or credit card points to book the flights because it just wasn't that good of a redemption. If you're a travel hacker person, that'll make sense to you. If you're not, high level, like I like to save my airline miles when I can use them to cash in for a flight that would be really, really, really expensive. Now, $1,600 for two people to go to Mexico was really, really expensive. But I'd rather save them for like business class on an international trip or somewhere where I'm going to get like a higher value out of those points. So anyways, we spend all the money, we get down there. It's a 10-day trip. On day 3, I went down really hard. I was like, I have a headache. I feel really dehydrated. And then all of a sudden, I was really, really, really sick to my stomach. I will spare you the details, but it was really bad. And for the rest of the trip, I pretty much didn't leave my hotel room other than to go get my required COVID test that I needed to get back into the country. Luckily, I have a really great telehealth option. Through my jobs, I was able to talk to a doctor, talk about different medications, what would help, what wouldn't, etc. And man, it was not great. It could have been a lot worse, but I will say it was not great. 10-day trip. I got to enjoy maybe 2.5 days, and then the rest of the time I was feeling really unhappy with how I was feeling. And I had to laugh a little bit. I ended up posting like my spending breakdown for last month on Instagram, and someone left a comment that said, "Oh, it looks like you really lived it up in May." I just thought, "Oh wow, yeah, it does look like that." But I spent all this money, and spending money does not necessarily equal having fun. They say money can't buy happiness, and it's kind of a silly thing to say, I think, sometimes, because sure, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy a lot of things that help a lot. Like, there was no amount of money that I could have paid to stop feeling sick on this trip. If there was, I don't know how much money I would have paid if I could just pay something to magically feel better and be able to get back out on the beach and have fun. But it helped, right? It was great to be able to go to the pharmacy and buy whatever I needed. Well, to send someone else to the pharmacy to buy what I needed. It was great to, at least I was sick in like a really, really, really nice hotel. Even though I didn't leave the hotel room, we had this massive, beautiful balcony overlooking the ocean that had a hot tub and a hammock and lounge chairs. And it was, not a bad place to sort of ride out this particular storm. So I don't know. This is the part where I feel like I should have some kind of lesson or a little nugget of wisdom to take away. But I've thought back on this and I've thought just a couple things, none of which feel particularly wise, but I'll share them with you anyways. One was leading up to this trip, I was so nervous about getting COVID and not being able to go. And I spent so much time and mental energy being really nervous and being really anxious about that. And I wish in retrospect that I had just chilled out a little bit, because the thing I was worrying about was not the thing that was about to come punch me in the gut. Two, I think this idea of like, maybe related to just trying to let go and not let my anxiety take over my life. Like, I spent all the money, I made all the plans, and at the same time, like, there was nothing I could do to control what happened, right? All I could do was do my best to keep myself comfortable, make it safely home, and then think, okay, we will try that again in the future. And then maybe lastly, and again, this is not anything like particularly wise, but it was something I was trying to remind myself of, was, wow, I was so glad that this wasn't some kind of big trip of a lifetime. Like I said, we go to Mexico every year. It's a vacation, right? It's read books, drink margaritas, sit by the pool. Like, how lucky I am that if this is the kind of vacation that's going to get ruined, it wasn't that once in a lifetime trip to Machu Picchu or New Zealand or something maybe that wasn't an easily repeatable, no big deal, just go back next year kind of thing. So that, my friends, is what's been on my mind. I would love it if you would tell me your absolute worst travel horror stories. You can find me on Instagram at LizGetsLoaded. Tell me something that will make me feel better about mine, right? Right. That would be good. Misery loves company. All right. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you soon. If you enjoyed listening today, share this podcast with a friend or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Ideally, one of those written reviews where you actually write out maybe a few sentences, a couple words, ideally nice words, but I'll take what I can get.